Hello all. Welcome to our session on Commvault data production. My name is Rahul Pawar and I'm joined by Anand Venkatesan. Both of us are part of the products team and have been with Commvault for several years, part of the engineering team and now the products team. As Brockby was explaining earlier on about our expanded portfolio, what we did with our portfolio is allowed you to consume the services from Commvault portfolio around your workload. Instead of having a Commvault out positioning, this is your workload and your needs, and our services are around that. So you could start with file storage optimization, add backup, or DR, or SaaS, depending on your needs. Today, Anand and I are going to focus on our expanded backup and recovery and DR portfolio. What we are seeing post COVID and even prior to COVID is the IT team is continues to get stretched extremely thinly. The diversity has given a lot of flexibility where there's now ability to run your application as containers or portions of the application as containers, take the ability of the cloud agility. You have your SAP or SAP HANA that can be on-prem or in cloud in various form formats. What we have seen with this diversity is given the multiple choices, the IT team and especially the backup team continues to get stretched as more and more challenges get added. So instead of looking at one point solution that can help with a virtualized or a cloud load or a cloud native tool, Commvault allows you to go across your entire portfolio because we do understand enterprises have needs that start from their iframes and going into the new age containers as well as PaaS and SaaS workloads. Commvault backup and recovery is everything that you have known Commvault for. It's the comprehensive solution that goes across your entire workload. It's extensible, it has API first integration, has trusted recovery and ransomware protection, and cost effective cloud data mobility. Although I can go around various aspects of the backup solution, I want to just focus on these three. Let me go a little bit in details. Like as you saw, the diversity is adding more and more challenges, and Brockway talked to it a lot more. Commvault solution goes from endpoints to SaaS apps or your traditional big filers to VMs and containers, and gives you a native, stronger integration with no matter what workload you are working with. We have the API integration that is catered to that workload. So it's not, hey, just dump your databases here. There's an integration that happens with RMAN. There's an integration that has happened with containers, the VMware APIs, to bring the best out of what you are trying to protect. The cloud native integration, I'm going to take some time to focus on this piece. What we have done with cloud, whether you're using HyperscaleX or Commvault in any form fashion, Commvault does not require any compute when you're writing to cloud. It's not archiving the data to cloud. It is taking and putting additional data in cloud. It does direct writes to cloud. There's no cloud gateway device needed. There's also no cloud form factor or virtual appliance needed. So there's no purpose built or special file system that is needed where cloud data is staged or staggered. It directly goes and suppose direct reads, direct writes to the cloud formats S3 Azure blobs, and the data stays in deduplicated and encrypted format through and through. The We have the auto scalabilities where we can power on our infrastructure or even extend our infrastructure depending on the SLA needs. So your weekend versus weekday, where weekends you're running full backups versus weekends you're running incremental backups, the Commvault infrastructure machines could just be two versus on weekends it could be three or four. It's almost like adding additional lanes to handle additional traffic during the peak times. All of this is done via policy and managed for you automatically. So the automatic power management during backup, we also extend that for recovery. So you're not paying for in cloud, you're not paying for infrastructure that you don't need. At the same time, you're using cloud agility to your advantage to make sure that the backup windows and the backup needs are always met. Um, that's the auto scale piece and verified recoverability, and you'll hear about that through and through as Anand talks about the DR piece, also in the backup piece. What does the verified recoverability do? The data blocks that we have written, we check for their consistency. There's a check happening, the data readiness check happening at the block level. It doesn't stop at the block level. For VMs, we have an auto boot, making sure that the VM is bootable. For applications such as SQL and Oracle, there are queries built in that validate that, hey, this VM has the SQL or Oracle application. Is this application coming up? And for our enterprise customer needs, there's also an extensibility where you could add your own scripts to validate the application. So all the applications, whether the application is sitting in a single VM, like I said earlier, or whether it's across the group of VMs, you could pretty much orchestrate the whole testing um, of that group of VMs, making sure your AD is coming before Exchange, your database is coming before web server. There's a boot ordering and recoverability through and through. Although backup, I can talk about management by exception and various aspects where we have the encryption, the air gap, and verified recoverability, as well as dual authentication to make sure a rogue admin or an internal user doesn't accidentally delete things. I also want to add on top of that the ransomware protection that is powered by our ML algorithms. With Commvault running in your system, we are learning your usage and your system through and through. So, like I was talking about this cloud scaling, there's automation and management by exception built in for other workloads, and in your regular backups also. So when we are backing up VMs or servers, there's dynamic prioritization happening for the VMs or the servers based on various conditions. The load on the proxy machine that is doing the backup, the load on your ES6 and data stores, the VM and the amount of spread they have. Like if they're spread across multiple data stores, we want to prioritize that VM over others. And a new server or a new VM or a VM that has not met its SLA because it had issues. The server that was not ready yesterday. Those kind of conditions we automatically prioritize. So it's built in on management by exception. On the ransomware piece, it's there's a multi-layered trusted approach. Like I was talking about, there's encryption built in. There's various certifications. So there's a hardening of software happening in house. Apart from that, there are best practices that are built in. What you see on your left hand side is the security assessment dashboard, which is checking your environment against 30 different parameters that we recommend. Many of them come default set, but in case you're not set some of this security dashboard is recommending, hey, you're not set this double password. You have not made sure that the dual authentication is needed. You have not set the timeout for your web service uh, to log out, or your password policy. It's a reminder that you can harden your system further. Along with this reminders, we also have honeypot mechanisms baked in our system, which will attract incursions and will flag and warn you in case of issues. Unfortunately, no amount of prevention we go through can avoid the ransomware attacks sometimes. So, what Commvault also has is the verified recoverability that I was talking about earlier, which uh, is making sure that you are able to recover with confidence whenever an attack happens. There's built-in orchestrated recovery checks added, so you could do DR test completely in isolation or in bubble and make sure your data is recovering. Common media agents also have a component or which restricts the amount of IO or the IO processes that go in and have access to our media agent libraries. So that's our backup portfolio. I know a lot of you have experience with Commvault backup product, but I'm very excited to talk about the API readiness, the automation, and the simplicity that also is part of the portfolio. With backup, I'll be happy to move on to the DR piece, and I would like to hand over to Anand to talk about the various DR aspects.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. So if you look at the survey report that we got from Forrester here, only 35% of the DR users testing DR at least once a quarter. But if you see the second report, more and more businesses in need to stay, online 24/7, which is a concern, right? Like, not enough testing is happening, but there are more demand for staying online 24/7. So we will see some of the reasons and challenges why users not being able to test often in the next slide. In the next report, it says 27% of businesses that experienced a business outage lost revenue because of it, and many of them couldn't even recover. So, DR, planning DR and testing it out is very very important. Under the COVID of light, there's a huge surge in DR adoption rate. That is like no surprise at all, right? So all in all, DR is very crucial to be planned and tested often. So Commvault did quite a bit of research in our disaster recovery space. Basically, we conducted interviews, surveys with a lot of our customers, partners, service providers, and we reached out to industry analysts to understand their real challenges and real needs of our customers. So these were the high-level theme. The challenges were like unpreparedness, DR is not planned, configured, or tested regularly. For the reason for this could be complexity, dedicated team to maintain this, expensiveness and things like that. So we'll dig through a little bit in the use cases when I go through this. Unexpected outages, it's IT admins eventually are the ones who are actually burdened with this, where the unexpected outages can be of any type. It could be human error, or it could be hardware failures, or it could be because of security issue like ransomware. So recovering from each type of outage is different, and to test and have that real DR experience, how they would be able to recover from each of these different type of outages is a key challenge for the admins today. The complexity. Existing solutions are complex and time-consuming today, as it requires dedicated resource to do that. And also, if you take typical data centers today, like 10 to 20%, what we call of the workload, what we call mission critical or business critical workloads, they are using DR, and remaining 80% with backup, product and other tools. So really, there are multiple teams working on multiple solutions, and bringing all of them and experiencing DR, testing DR is nearly impossible. Is what the current situation. So that complexity exists there. That's another challenge that we see.
And then part of this, right? The survey was done pre-COVID, so DR was hard even in your own data centers. Now, what we have
Yeah,
seen is the team is remote. There's a combination of data centers that you continue to use, and there's a lot of cloud. There's
exactly.
remote workforce, which means there's a lot of endpoint devices. So it's not just DR, it's the compliance and all of those, and overall preparedness. What we have found out is less and less. And unfortunately, even with the COVID circumstances, there's one thing that is not stopping, which is the rogue actors and the ransomware attacks. Uh, we are seeing a lot of increase of that in the recent era. So, Anand, all the challenges that you mentioned have just been amplified over higher with the post-COVID era.
I totally agree, Rahul. Yes, yes. And expensiveness, and I'm continuing from there. The expensiveness, because we all know that existing DR solutions are expensive out there. Along with that, like I said, multiple products are being used, and multiple teams are managing those. All of those add to the total cost. So what really they're looking for? What are the needs in DR? So flexibility, like Rahul mentioned, DR is the not only DR. I'm sorry, the cloud is part of the IT data center. Whether customers already moved to cloud or planning to move, are in progress moving to the cloud. So the key thing that they're looking for is easy way to move the data around. Application portability, whether it between on-premise to cloud or within a cloud or public to another cloud for compliance multi-cloud requirement, right? So that flexibility is what they're looking for. And the readiness is opposite to complex and unpreparedness that we talked about before. So what the DR customers looking for is a simple way of testing their DR and making sure they experience how the recovery is going to happen in case if they hit with disaster. That real experience, simulating the failures and bringing up their environment online on the DR side, and getting the end of it, getting the compliance reports and the audit reports so that they can present to their management. They'll get some peace of mind and confidence on, hey, this is where our DR state, and this is how exactly our recovery is going to happen, and this is how long it will take. So that is something that they're looking for in part of readiness. And of course, less expensive. We talked about it, and a comprehensive solution. Like I said, there are multiple solutions being used and different workloads, being deployed every day. So covering all of those with one solution, single platform, is what the customers are looking for, with a simple way to manage. So Commvault introducing Commvault disaster recovery to address some of the challenges that we saw. So basically, we all our work we grouped under these main theme, simplification, flexibility, powerful, scalability, and intelligent. We're going to go through each one of them in detail. Simplification, we focused on simplifying DR jobs, replication jobs. Not only the UI, including the APIs as well. And similarly, the flexibility, when flexibility is not only the product functionality wise, also we simplified purchase and deployment also. Like if somebody would like to just use disaster recovery in their environment, they are now able to just get the disaster recovery with much lower cost and try that. Versus if somebody who wants to combine both backup and recovery and disaster recovery and even analytics for that matter, all of those can be used as well. So that flexibility also be added. And choice of RPO, whether user would like to use their existing array-based replication or application, based replication or VM-based, doesn't matter. We want to provide that range of RPO flexibility for our users. That's another area that we have been working on. And scalability and intelligent, we'll talk about this more. Basically, DR is built on top of the same backup is using the same common data platform, where it gets all advantages as the backup. We'll talk about that a little bit in detail.
So Anand, before you go ahead, like when we say it's a new product for DR, although we have a new product or a new standalone product for DR, I do want to clarify that based on what we heard from the survey, a lot of our customers are using Commvault, or it's a Commvault backup is already part of your DR solution. So people have been using Commvault for DR. So what's new or what's different in this product? And I do want to call it out, right? We had the requirement of requiring backups for you to do DR. So DR, Commvault was always part of your DR solution or DR strategy, but it mandated the need of backups. What we did when we started doing a standalone product is we decoupled the need of having to do backups. So DR is a standalone offering, even though you are using some other backup vendors, backup services today. You as a customer or a service provider, you can get started with Commvault DR. And with other things in our portfolio, you can definitely start with DR and add backup, or if you are using Commvault for backup today, you can add DR offering on top of it. It's a complementary service, but doesn't require backup to be used. It takes the replication abilities and the orchestration abilities and make it the forefront. And like Anand said, simplicity, flexibility were the key design mantras. But we definitely looked at DR for the whole data center. So we are not focused on 5% of the workloads, and we have focused on being scalable and providing DR for your entire data center. So scalability and the enterprise flexibility, having custom business additions were part of this design from the get-go.
So when we say simple, what really we did, really our UX team and design team spent a lot of time working on this, simplifying as simple as possible for DR users. So literally, when I say three-step configuration, it's literally three-step configuration from adding hypervisor, adding content to the first replication job. Commvault also adds a lot of inbuilt, configuration for you. So, as long as you have first application is done, you are ready to even further go test the failover. We don't even expect user to come back and create the failover groups. So that level of automation we did part of the simplification. Easy to understand and consistent UI experience across workloads, whether it's a database replication or whether it's a VM or whether it's cloud or on-premise. We wanted to provide that consistent UI experience that we achieved here. And whether DR recovery or DR test, we wanted to again simplify that. That's literally one-click operation now. So we'll look at that a little bit in the screenshot, also short video at the end of the session.
And actually, on the simple piece, I just want to clarify that although everything was made simple and three-click configuration, we also focused on this being embeddable, white labeled for our service providers and SI partners, and we made it an API first approach where everything that you see in our UI or in our demo can also be consumed or worked via APIs. And when we go in the demos, you'll see literally on the screens, you'll see an equivalent API for every single thing that you're configuring on the screen.
Yes, true. Flexibility-wise, like Rahul showed earlier, one of his slides before, data center consists of multiple different types of OSs, different type of applications, hypervisors, etc. So it's becoming hard for IT admins to manage and catch up with the changes happening. So we wanted to really provide this one flexibility that is running on one common platform. So if you take SLA wise, whether it's a sub-minute RPO, aggressive RPO to relaxed 8-hour or 24-hour RPO, we want to provide that choice for user, so that like we have been saying the same thing again and again, that our goal is to go after whole data center. So we want to really provide that kind of a tool and capacity with single solution. Whether any workload can be physical machine replication or a database or hypervisor, or somebody who's already having a array-based replication, and they would like to use Commvault DR orchestration and automation on top of that. All again consistent UI and simple. The one-step configuration and two-step configuration that we talked about is available consistently across all of these. And also any location, whether it's on-premise, a public cloud or a private cloud, all of these operations is going to be available one single platform. And our goal is to provide flexibility and full power to the admins to manage to make their life easy. So scalable and resilient. So we like I said in the beginning, where DR is built on the same platform as backup. So like we have been adding a lot of features, intelligence to the platform for the backup all these years. DR is going to get advantage and use most of the features that we added so far by reusing the platform. For example, like Rahul mentioned, the auto scale on demand. So like today backup is doing auto scale on demand, where when additional load comes to meet SLA, using our machine learning algorithms, we can auto scale to meet your SLA. User need not to worry about spanning more Commvault infrastructure or creating more storage. All of those are handled through scale out and scale in. And to save cloud costs, again, auto power off and on depending on the request. Once we process the request, we power down ourselves. So we don't need Commvault instances to be running 24/7 on the cloud, saving the cloud cost. And the resiliency-wise, we added resiliency to replication and DR orchestration jobs. They are smart enough to figure out whether the issue that they face is with the resiliency, issues like transient or environmental error versus real errors. So basically, they adjust the retry logic in the process and make sure job completes. If it is a real error, we will send user intuitive message and alerts and things like that. That resiliency already inbuilt in the first launch itself. And we have a better failover, failback, job restartability, and error messages and things like that also added. So let's take some use cases. When I say one-click recovery, it's literally the one-click recovery. As you can see on the right side screen, that has the information, like if you take a typical app group, if you have a group which has a database server, web server, and application server, whole app stack as a group, and you're replicating it. And when you want to bring it up, probably you would be really need that whole app group to boot in sequence. First you want database server, then web server, then application server in a reverse order there. So you can set priorities, and you can set boot delays, and you can set boot dependencies here, all of them in one simple screen. So boot dependency is something like if your database server is not coming up, you don't have to really bring the web server or application server, because that's not going to work. So you can set all of those settings here. And one of my favorite feature here that a lot of our enterprise customers use is the compliance feature, where like if you have a business critical group, VM group or app group that you want to protect from accidental or rogue admin failing it over by mistake or on purpose. So always it's as simple as just list on from the drop down assigning the approver to the group. So approver will get an email saying hey, this whatever operation submitted unplanned over or plan failed over. Then the approver will have a choice to accept it or decline that operation. So it's kind of a compliance feature for your critical work groups. So next one is a DR testing. Again, we talked about it earlier, where one of the challenges in the industry is like complex testing, and according to Forrester, only 35% of the DR users testing the DR once in a quarter. So we wanted to really address that problem. So Commvault added smart, automated way of replicating validation for our replicas. Basically, we do the validation as frequent as the replication itself. Automatically, this is by default on. So if there is any failure, we will find out from the validation. Like we boot up the VM and we validate the VM. This can be configured further, like to validate apps and things like that. But again, the user has a full choice and flexibility to schedule the app group, all the options that we saw in the previous slide, and schedule it weekly or bi-weekly, not necessarily like monthly or quarterly. They can go more aggressive. And also, as you see the screen on the right, the screenshot, it says test boot. It is a on-demand booting option. With one click, somebody can want to test it on demand. They can do that as well. So really one-click operation is what we got into. So there are a bunch of more, other use cases that we added part of this launch. VMC is one of them. This literally the source and destination could be any of the cloud or hypervisor vendors. We added I'm considering VMC here. We added a simplified APIs that could actually can onboard and offboard customers. That adds a lot more into single API. That's lot more things than just replication, especially for service providers. Ransomware, like Rahul touched upon this, replication also covers this. Advantage here is with replication is our replication job, the validation will fail, automatically we revert back to the good known state and send alerts to the admins. So user need not to come back and disable the replication and revert back to the known good state. Product itself automatically takes care. I have a small demo, like a recorded demo, considering the time constraint. But that should cover pretty much what we talked. Let me play that. As you can see, there's a disaster recovery and replication side where we are adding a virtualization client. Right now, it is showing only VMware. That could be any cloud or any other hypervisor. So once I have added it, vCenter already here, I'm selecting the content. Once I have picked up the content, that's my first step done. In my second step, I'll be setting the destination vCenter. That's going to be again, that can be a cloud or any other vCenter for that matter. Once that is done, so our second step is done, basically selecting the replica site. And again, you can set SLA, whether it's periodic or continuous, all sort of options. And then third step is literally the storage where replica store is going to save, and that's it. We have a three-step configuration that we have. Um, and if user would like to override a VM or a group of VMs with DNS or IP settings, they can do that as well, like whole VM group or a individual VM level, and that's optional step, and that's all user has to do. So Commvault will configure failover group, replication group, and also kick off the replication job. As you can see now, the replication job will kick off. Yeah, as you can see, the jobs are running already for the VMs. As soon as the replication job completes, user has a choice to do the failover immediately without doing anything. Commvault creates all the policies, necessary things need to be tested, all of those things. But of course, users can override and create customized one. As you can see from the group, now I am ready to do a plan failover or unplanned failover. If you want to do some pre-post script as well. So that's simple it is. Best part is there are a lot more options. As you can see, pointing time failover. If you have your recovery points up to years, like you can go back up to years to pick up the pointing time that you want to restore to. As simple as one click restores. As you can see, the recovery is as simple as literally one click. So that's what.
Another, yeah, another. This is great. Actually, so one of the things I do want to point out is DR is in the same command center where you can look at, protect, and activate another products. So it's the matter of getting subscribed or started with those services. So it's one place. The UI definitely looked very simple. So thanks, Anand, for this demo,
Yeah, great.
and thank you everyone for joining us for this session today.
Thank you.
Thank you.